Star Wars is one of the most iconic franchises of all time, with a story that has inspired countless other works. However, George Lucas's original draft had a story which was a bit different to the one we all know and love, yet also quite similar at the same time. The original draft of George Lucas's Star Wars was used to write the comic series, The Star Wars, which released from September 2013 to May 2014. I recommend that you go check out the comics for yourself, but I will be covering them in this video. So, let's get straight to it. Until the recent Great Rebellion, the Jedi Bendu were the most feared warriors in the universe. For 100,000 years, generations of Jedi perfected their art as the personal bodyguards of the Emperor. They were the chief architects of the invincible Imperial Space Force, which expanded the Empire across the galaxy, from the celestial equator to the farthest reaches of the Great Rift. Now, these legendary warriors are all but extinct. One by one, they have been hunted down and destroyed as enemies of the new Empire by a ferocious and sinister rival warrior sect, the Knights of Sith. On the fourth moon of Utapau, a boy called Anakin sees a ship fly across the sky. He goes home and tells his dad, "They've found us." The father is sitting with another boy called Deke, who is holding a cube. The commotion distracts Deke, who is then beaten by his father and scolded for losing concentration. The father asks Anakin how many ships have arrived, to which Anakin tells him that it's just one Bantha 4. The father says that this is good, and that they may not have to repair their old bucket after all. The father and Anakin are setting off when Deke asks to come. The father asks Deke what the answer is, referring to the cube, and Deke says that he thinks it's the Corbett Dictum. What is without. Deke also mentions that he has outmarked Anakin in 12 disciplines. The father allows Deke to come. Once at the ship, they observe from afar. The father believes that they are being baited into checking out the ship up close, and so the father decides to make his way closer to the ship alone, while Anakin and Deke guard him from afar. Anakin and Deke are watching their father when suddenly a cloaked person wielding a red laser sword attacks them. The laser sword slashes Deke, launching him to the side. Anakin ignites his red laser sword in response and begins to fight the person. Anakin fights them for a short while, and then the father jumps into the battle, slicing the person in half immediately. The father then sees Deke's dead body and is distraught. Later, Anakin and the father burn Deke's body and go aboard the Sith ship, plotting a course for Aquilae, their home. At Alderaan, the capital of the new galactic empire, Star Destroyers are flying over the plaza of the Daedars, while the Emperor is preparing to give a speech. The crowds of people have been waiting since the morning. The Emperor addresses the crowds. "Upon this battle depends the survival of the galactic empire. Upon this battle depends the life and the long continuity of our civilization. Not since the great Jedi Rebellion has our destiny been placed in such balance. This is to be the most magnificent campaign of all. We must conquer the Aquileian system, last of the independent systems, last refuge of the outlawed and vile sect of Jedi. I have personally asked the Aquileians to accept the Treaty of Alliance. During the long period of negotiation, they have decided only to be undecided. We will barter no longer. I have appointed Governor Hodag as First Lord of the Aquileian system and surrounding territories. This is the last frontier and the final stone in the Great Wall of the Galactic Empire." The crowds cheer. Bail Antilles has just finished a drink. Whitsun approaches him, offering him another. Antilles talks about how all spacecrafts have been grounded. Whitsun realizes that the new empire is moving against Aquilae before the treaty is finished, and so asks whether there will be any ships moving so that he can get the word out. An official for the New Galactic Empire calls out for all captains and first officers of Guild Trade frigates to join them in heading to the Ministry of Transport. Antilles tells Whitsun to try going to the pirates. Hodak places his hand on Darth Vader's back, telling him to rejoice since they are no longer under control of the great families. Vantos Kol, a member of the Supreme Tribunal, reminds Hodak that he still has a system to conquer. Hodak tells Kol that the system will bring them more scientific wealth than any other house in the tribunal, and that they will gain easy control of the dictatorship. Kol warns Hodak not to underestimate the Aquila's armies, since they are led by a Jedi. Vader then says that the existence of Jedi is now a myth. Hodak shrugs this off, telling Vader that Kol worries a lot about legends and myths. Kol responds, saying that General Skywalker is not a myth, and that when he first arrived at Kult, Skywalker was the bodyguard to the Emperor. He also says that it was General Skywalker who led the Jedi Rebellion. Vader says that Sieg Darklighter led to the rebellion, to which Kol says that that is just what the Emperor would have them believe, but Luke Skywalker was there. Vader responds, asking that if this was the case, why wasn't Skywalker hunted down like the other Jedi? Kol saying that it's because he's too clever. Kol says that he can sense that Skywalker is on Aquilay, and that the system will not be conquered easily. On Aquilay, the king and the Aquilayan council meet in the Palace of Light. King Chaos asks Zavos if his frigates would still be able to supply Aquilay. Zavos tells the king that the Chrome companies are with him in spirit, but can't openly support Aquilay due to the threat of imperial trade restrictions. Count Sandage stands up and tells King Chaos to approve the treaty, and that war would lead to the destruction of their system. He says that General Skywalker is a dreamer if he thinks that he can mount any meaningful resistance. Then, General Luke Skywalker arrives, telling Sandage to sit down. Luke tells the council to come to a decision. Senator Nash tells Luke that war is a serious and deadly business, to which Luke responds that procrastination is a deadly business, and that war is his business. Luke then asks Tarkin whether his defense measures have been approved yet. Tarkin tells Luke that his sacerdotal colleagues and him still believe that war with the Empire is only a remote possibility. He tells Luke that the proposal has its merits, but in reality an attack against the Empire is extreme. King Chaos tells Count Sandage to head a delegation to Alderaan, and that the next day the delegation will leave with Aquilay's answer to the treaty. Two of the king's children, Biggs and Windy, then rush into the room to tell him that Leia is leaving and that the king must say goodbye. The King Chaos and Queen Breha say goodbye to Leia, Chaos telling her that the semester will be over before she knows it, and that there is a lot to learn. Luke wishes Leia well. Later on Aquilay, Luke is present in the war room of the hidden underground fortress far beneath the Palace of Light. Luke asks Montross if any ships have left the planet. Montross replies that at 2400 a full battalion of Star Destroyers left, seemingly heading towards Anchorhead or a nearby system. Luke then comments that he has had no word from Whitsun, and that Whitsun should have reported by now. Luke then has a bad feeling about this, and prepares to put everyone on alert. He heads through a group of people, noticing Kane Starkiller. Skywalker remarks that he thought that Kane had been executed. Kane says that that's just what the Empire wants to believe, and that he has been in the Kessel system. Kane asks Luke if he remembers his son, Anakin. Luke comments that Anakin takes after his mother, and that it's good to see him. He then asks where Kane's other son is. Kane interrupts Luke's train of thought by commenting that it's nice to be with another Jedi again, and that there's so few left. Luke calls out to everyone, telling them that they are on alert, and that he and his friends are going to have a private conversation, and that everyone should keep him up to date on the battalion. Privately, Kane tells Luke that he has come for his help. Luke says that he will do anything Kain asks, and that they are Jedi brothers. Kain comments that he has lost so much since they parted, to which Skywalker realizes he's talking about his son, Deke. Kain says that there is no refuge from the Empire. He asks that Luke take Anakin as his Padawan learner and train him to be a Jedi. Kain says that he has trained Anakin from birth and that he has reached the first stage. He also mentions that Anakin fought in the Caecilian Civil Wars and commanded a Hubble expedition to the code systems. Luke responds saying that Kain gives him too much honor and that he isn't a match for Kain. Luke asks why Kain doesn't just complete Anakin's training himself. Kain says that he is too old. Luke asks what kind of talk this is, saying that this isn't the Starkiller he remembered. Kain slams his hand onto the table, shouting that he is not the same Starkiller. He tears off some of his clothes, revealing a cybernetic body, saying that there is nothing left of him but his head and his right arm, and that he is dying. Kain apologizes for losing control, and tells Luke to take Anakin as his Padawan. He says that the Jedi Bendu must survive, and that they are old and must start a new generation of Jedi. He says that only a Jedi can stop the Empire. Then, someone runs into the room, calling out to Luke, saying that they've picked up something big. They say that it's an asteroid or solid comet, and that it's moving away from the Anchorhead system and heading towards Aquilay. Luke stands looking at the diagram, showing the thing moving towards them. He asks whether they're sure that it's not a battalion, but the man says that it's a solid object and as big as Aquilay's third moon. Another person comments that it's too large to be man-made, but too slow to be a comet. Skywalker heads to meet with the king and tells Anakin Starkiller to stay close to him. Later, Luke and Anakin approach the king and queen. Queen Breha asks if Kain will be joining them, to which Luke informs her that Kain left for the spaceport at Gordon to visit an old friend, Han Solo, the Eurelian. The king and queen seat themselves for dinner. Luke tells them that he believes Aquilay to be in danger. He tells the king that Whitsun, his best agent, has disappeared, and that there is unusual military traffic in the S4 sectors. King Chaos says that he is leaving this night to meet with the full assembly. He says that he is not going to approve the treaty and that he will get Luke his defense measure. Luke tells King Chaos that the next day may be too late and that he needs the war code now so that they can get their forces into space. King Chaos tells Luke that everything must be done legally and that he will not forsake his oath. A man then enters the room to tell Luke that the large object has vanished without a trace. Luke tells the king and queen that he and Anakin must go and that they will await the war code. In the war room, Luke tells his men to check for the object again, saying that an object of that size can't just disappear. Luke then notices that Anakin is missing. He then finds Anakin about to kiss a woman. Anakin quickly moves away from the woman and stands at attention. Luke draws his laser sword, swinging at Anakin, and Anakin ignites his laser sword to block Luke's. Luke then scolds Anakin, saying that a Jedi must be single-minded, a skill Kain obviously never learned since Anakin exists. Anakin says that it won't happen again. An announcement then says that Whitsun has been admitted to the medvac. At the medvac, Luke asks if Whitsun is conscious. The medic tells him that Whitsun is partially conscious and will be alright. Whitsun tells Luke in a staggered manner that the Imperial Star Force is on its way. He says that there is a giant space fortress, unlike anything ever seen. Luke says that the Empire will show up on their screens at sunrise, but will attack before then. Luke tells Anakin to take a land speeder to Chathos to pick up Princess Leia and return. At Chathos, Anakin tells Princess Leia to hurry up and forget the cases. Leia asks Anakin just who he thinks he is, and says that she will not be treated like this. Leia is struggling too much against Anakin, and so he punches her, knocking her out. Anakin then carries her into his speeder. Early the next morning, Luke speaks to King Chaos through a comm system. He tells Chaos that the Empire will attack at sunrise and that he needs the war code. King Chaos says that he'll relay the code to the computer. Luke tells Chaos that the royal family is safe and that Anakin went after Princess Leia. King Chaos says that he is on his way. King Chaos tells his driver to get him back to Calvas immediately. A blast comes down upon the king's transport, blowing him up. At the spaceport outpost in the city of Gordon on Aquilay, Devil Squadron are preparing to fly into battle. Devil Squadron jet off. In the war room, Luke is told that Devil Squadron has left their pool and that all of the other spaceports have been hit. They also say that the king hasn't arrived yet. In space, Devil Squadron fly towards the space fortress. Then, the space fortress beams out an attack on Aquilay. Devil Squadron assemble into formation and ready themselves to attack. They blast at the space fortress, opening up holes and killing Imperials. Luke coordinates their attack from the ground. Devil Squadron continue their attack, avoiding an onslaught of attacks. Then, Devil 4 is hit. On board the space fortress, Sector 2A is told to evacuate. There, C-3PO and R2-D2 rush around. An explosion throws rubble over them. Devil Squadron are continuing their attack and getting some good hits in. Another member of Devil Squadron is then shot down. C-3PO and R2-D2 move through the space fortress, coming across an injured man hanging from the ceiling. In Governor Hodak's command center aboard the space fortress, Hodak gets a report of the damage to the space fortress. The comlink power is out, and there is lots of damage. Vader tells Hodak that not even a Jedi could penetrate the space fortress. Hodak responds that they'll run over budget if the attack goes on for too long. Vader tells Hodak that the landings will happen as soon as the attack has been broken. In the war room on Aquilay, Luke is told that the Senate has voted to end the war. Luke says that they cannot do anything without the king's approval. The ground communications are jammed. Luke sends 4 men from the 3rd Squad to collect the king and asks if Anakin is back with the princess. He's told that Anakin still hasn't arrived. Within space, Devil Squadron attack the space fortress's reactor. C-3PO tells R2-D2 that he is going to escape in a life pod, to which R2-D2 responds that they can't leave their work and that the life pods aren't meant for them. An explosion changes R2-D2's mind, and C-3PO and R2-D2 rush into a life pod and eject. Meanwhile in space, another Devil Squadron member has just been destroyed. Luke tells the squadron that Transformer Code 03 seems to be the main relay and that its destruction would cause the space fortress to go dead. In Governor Hodak's war room, Vader says that only 2 enemy fighters remain. He says that the planet is theirs. Hodak tells Vader that they must first capture Princess Leia alive. Leia has the right to the throne, and so without her, the people of Aquilay will not obey the Empire. He also tells Vader that they have won a great prize for the Empire, since the people of Aquilay have cloning technology. In the war room, Luke is informed that the king is dead. Senator Sandage walks into the room, telling Luke that they've relayed peace terms to the Empire, and that the peace terms have been accepted. Luke tells Sandage that the war isn't over, and that he takes his orders from the royal family. Sandage tells Luke that the Queen has given her written decree. Sandage tells Luke that the people won't follow him. With this, Luke tells what is left of Devil Squadron to break off their attack and return to base. As the 2 ships return, the space fortress blasts them out of the sky. At the sight of this, Luke is angered and says that even if it is treason, he will continue the war. C-3PO and R2-D2 are in their life pod, flying through space. R2-D2 tells C-3PO that what they've done is desertion and that they'll be destroyed. Inside the space fortress, Vader speaks to his armies. The war is won. Today, our acts usher in a new millennium for the Empire, which will echo throughout the universe. Today, you will make the Empire complete. Let the invasion begin. In the war room, Luke sits with his head in his hands, being told that there has been no sign of Anakin or Leia. R2-D2 and C-3PO land on Aqualay, near the edge of the Junsland, the Dune Sea. As they are walking away from their life pod, R2-D2 complains about how C-3PO has made the pair of them deserters, and that C-3PO is going the wrong way. This all annoys C-3PO too much, and he grabs R2-D2 and tosses him. R2-D2 remarks that C-3PO will be malfunctioning within a day, and the pair of them go their separate ways. Later, R2-D2 comes across a land speeder. Anakin steps out of his speeder and approaches R2-D2. He suspects that R2-D2 is probably damaged and decides to take him with him and Leia. C-3PO is wandering across the desert, complaining to himself about how R2-D2 tricked him into going this way. Then, across the sand, he sees a speeder. It's Anakin's speeder. He is arguing with Leia. Anakin decides to pick up C-3PO. Anakin stops the speeder in a canyon. He and Leia leave the speeder, leaving C-3PO and R2-D2 behind. Anakin and Leia enter a secret passage into a hidden fortress. Entering, Leia asks Luke to do something about Anakin, calling him a barbarian. Luke interrupts her to tell her that her father is dead. Luke tells her that her mother and brothers are safe. Later, in the throne room of the hidden fortress, Breha says that the Senate has become corrupted, and that she is not powerful enough to control them, since she is only ruling through marriage. She says that Leia must be protected, and the royal line preserved. She asks that Luke take Leia and her brothers to the Opuchi system. She says that the Chrome companies on Opuchi have offered to supply men and ships in order to help return Leia to the throne. Leia tells Breha to go with them, but Breha says that she is too old for the long journey, and that she must lead the evacuation of Aqualay. Luke says that they must travel in disguise, and that he must have full command. After the meeting, Luke asks Montross how Whitsun is doing. He is told that Whitsun is doing well. Luke tells Montross to have Whitsun report at 0300, and to have 2 transports with 2 days worth of provisions prepared. He also asks that Han Solo be contacted. At Gordon Spaceport on Aqualay, Vader and Hodak are leaving a ship. Vader says that an advance expedition is on its way to the royal family's underground hideaway, and that soon he will have the royal family in custody. He has gotten the information on the hideout from Count Sandage. Luke is outside the hidden fortress with Anakin, Whitsun, Leia, and the 2 boys. Luke says that they will take R2-D2 and C-3PO since they have knowledge on the space fortress. Luke tells Anakin that the droids will give accurate information to anyone who asks, and so not to say anything that they don't want in enemy hands. Count Sandage arrives with some soldiers and asks where they are going. Luke says that Leia and the children are being taken to safety. Sandage tells Luke that the Empire has assured their safety, to which Luke says that he doesn't answer to the Empire. Count Sandage calls for Luke's arrest. Luke attacks Sandage and his men. Anakin drives through the soldiers with his speeder. Luke jumps onto Whitsun's speeder, and the group escapes. A short while later, they all stop at a great distance from the fortress. They watch as the hidden fortress explodes from the self-destruct they initiated. Luke says that the Empire is coming from the spaceport at Anchorhead, and so that they control everything between where they are and the spaceport at Gordon. He says that it would be time costly to go around them, and so they will have to wait for them to pass. Elsewhere, General Vader is hunched over a desk. Prince Valorum enters the room and Vader welcomes him, commending him on his legendary exploits. Vader says that he has waited a long time to meet a Knight of the Sith, and that if there is any way that he can assist Valorum, he will. Prince Valorum requests a tie into Vader's computer network, a control center, and all communication access. Vader says that he will provide this. He also says that he'll transfer information on General Skywalker, asking if Valorum believes Skywalker to be a Jedi. Valorum responds saying that if General Skywalker wasn't a Jedi, he wouldn't be there. At dawn, Luke, Anakin, Whitsun, Leia, and the children are speeding across the sand dunes. They need fuel, and so prepare to make a stop at a fuel station. They realize that the occupation force will likely have control of the station, and so hide their rankings and weapons. They arrive at the fuel station, finding that it looks to be abandoned. They then notice two bodies hanging from the ceiling. Suddenly, shock troopers arrive. Whitsun claims that they have been relocated to a Bath Gorge station by Imperial order, and that they have run out of power. One of the shock troopers remark that all power has been restricted. Luke says that they must have power, otherwise they'll be forced to stay at the station, and so become the responsibility of the shock troopers. Upon hearing that Luke and the group would become their responsibility, the shock troopers decide to kill the group. Anakin pulls out his laser sword, impaling two shock troopers with it. Luke draws out his laser sword, and he and Anakin fight the shock troopers. Whitsun looks after Princess Leia, and Anakin moves to protect the children. Luke carries on the attack. Shock troopers arrive in the sky. Luke blows up an Imperial transport, and the group escape in their speeders. Later, Luke and the group are speeding across the wasteland on Aquilay when Anakin sees a patrol in the distance. Luke decides that they should split up and meet at the western edge of the ravine. Anakin goes directly on course, expecting to meet the patrol, but finds that they've disappeared. The patrol appears in front of Luke, and one of the officers asks Luke if he's seen any other transports in the area. Luke tells the officer that he saw two transports heading south towards Amzil. The officer tells Luke to be on his way. As Luke and Whitsun are moving away, the patrol appears again, charging at them. Luke and Whitsun get their blasters out and begin shooting at the patrol. As the patrol reaches them, Luke ignites his laser sword and attacks, hopping aboard one of the patrol's mounts. Whitsun contacts Anakin, who says that he has 3 riders on him and 2 heading towards Luke. Riding the creature, Luke attacks the rest of the patrol, making quick work of them. Whitsun travels towards Anakin, where he finds Anakin injured. The injuries aren't severe though. Luke scolds Anakin for letting 2 riders go. In the Imperial Command Center on Aquilay, Vader tells Prince Valorum that the patrol was lost, to which Valorum tells him that this was expected. Prince Valorum says that Luke and his group are heading for the spaceport at Gordon, and that he'll be waiting there. He asks that all security at the spaceport be doubled and put on alert. Luke and the group stand looking over the spaceport from afar. Luke tells Anakin to stay there and look after the children and Leia. He then heads off towards the spaceport with Whitsun. In the spaceport, Luke heads into a cantina in order to try and find an old friend, an Outland type who was usually an ally. He goes to the bar where 2 of the patrons take a disliking to him. The patrons insist on fighting Luke, and so he ignites his laser sword, attacking them both. Looking elsewhere, Luke stumbles upon his friend, Han Solo. The pair of them greet each other, and Luke asks how Kane Starkiller is doing. Luke encounters Kane and talks about how Anakin is improving. Whitsun contacts the others and tells them to come. Later, the group unite and Anakin meets his father again. Luke meets Datos, Okko, and Quist, some of the people who are fighting against the Empire. Han Solo asks if the arrangements for their plan is secure, to which the Rodian says that the group will travel aboard a Bolterian freighter and that they'll place the twins in suspended animation within shielded micropacks in order to get past the scanners. However, they'll need power packs in order to enact the plan. Han Solo says that he knows someone. It's risky, but he and Anakin will go check with them. Later, Anakin and Han Solo arrive back with one power pack. However, this is only enough for one of the boys to escape. They debate about how they are going to deal with the boy that would be left behind. Luke says that they'll find another way to get the boy through. Whitsun suggests using R2-D2's power pack, but it's not compatible. Then, Kane tears off his clothes, telling them to use his power pack, pulling it out of himself. Kane instantly begins to die, and Anakin rushes towards him. He tells Anakin that he is proud, and that Anakin must serve his new teacher. Anakin remarks that his father's death was necessary, and Luke says that it was an honorable death. Leia puts the two boys to sleep, and Anakin and Whitsun carry them upon their backs. The group then move on their way to enact their plan. In the security clearance area of Gordon Spaceport, the group stand among the crowds, ready to board their transport. Han Solo notices that the Empire is changing the boarding procedures. Luke shows the identification officer their ID and component receipts. The group walk through the gate. Anakin senses that there is something wrong, stating that there is a Knight of the Sith nearby, to which Luke agrees that this is possible. One of the boys, Biggs, is starting to lose power faster than expected. Luke and Han Solo rush ahead to make sure the situation is secure. Ahead, they run into Prince Valorum. Valorum sets shock troopers on them and then closes the door. He then tells Luke and Han Solo that the chamber is sealed and that they shouldn't force him to release the J gas. Han Solo lunges at Valorum with a laser sword, but Valorum disarms him easily. Valorum says that the rest of the group is at his mercy. Luke tells Han Solo that the Sith are immune to J gas, but that they are not. Luke and Han Solo are placed in handcuffs and are sent to be placed in Hold G. C-3PO and R2-D2 see them being transported. Luke and Han Solo jump upwards at the ceiling, breaking their handcuffs off. They grab weapons and attack the shock troopers. They are blown up, but are okay. Luke uses a shock trooper to break Anakin, Whitsun and Leia out of a cell. Luke sends Anakin and Whitsun to go find the containers they brought the boys in. And he, Han Solo and Leia head towards the main hatch. C-3PO and R2-D2 follow Luke's group. At the main hatch, Luke tells C-3PO to get the main hatch open, and C-3PO begins to work on getting it open. Vader tells his shock troopers to prepare to gas the exits of the ship the group is on. The main hatch starts to open. Anakin and Whitsun locate the boys. They are worried that Biggs is running out of power too quickly. Shock troopers attack, and Anakin throws a neurostunner which he found at them, electrocuting the troopers to death. At the main hatch, Luke tells Leia that they can't wait for Anakin and Whitsun to get back, and that the J gas will be released soon. Luke forces Leia through the hatch. Then Anakin and Whitsun arrive, being pursued by shock troopers. The hatch is closing. Whitsun dives, just getting through the hatch. Then Anakin is dragged through the hatch by the group, just about making it through the hatch in time. As they move, Luke tells the group that once the alarm spreads, the entire spaceport will be shut down. Anakin mentions that the Sith Knight won't be far behind. The group notice a fighter craft in the military section. They attack the military section in order to try and steal the ship. Prince Valorum gets a report that there is blaster fire in the military section. He orders for all hangars in the sector to be sealed and heads on his way there. Chased by shock troopers and Valorum, the group rush to the ship and lift off. They fly through a silo cover, taking damage to the deflector fin. They begin heading to the Chrome Companies of Apuchi, having bested the Empire for now. They decide that they should rest. Anakin tells Leia to get some rest and to plug in Biggs's life pod, leaving the boys in the pods. Leia asks Anakin to stay with her, telling him that she loves him. Anakin responds, saying that she belongs to the people of Aquilay, and that it is his job to protect her, and that he is here for nothing more. Leia remarks that she hates him, and that she can't wait until they get to Apuchi. In the cockpit, C-3PO notices that there is a hostile craft ahead. The nearest star system is Yavin, and so Luke decides to go there in hopes of losing the hostile craft among the systems. Later, Whitsun visits Anakin, who is lying in bed. Whitsun tells Anakin that the boys are secured in one of the life pods. Whitsun asks Anakin what is going on between him and Leia, to which Anakin replies, saying that Leia loves him and that he just realized that he loves her too. Whitsun tells Anakin that he's asking for trouble, and that Leia is a queen and Anakin a warrior. Anakin says that he doesn't care. Anakin is then interrupted by a loud boom. Anakin and Whitsun move to man the guns. In the cockpit, Han Solo says that there looks to be 3 Hunter destroyers. Luke orders the ship to be turned around so that they can fight. Han Solo tells Luke that they're losing deflectors 331 and 1042. Luke orders the movement of the ship into position. Anakin sits in the cockpit with a clear shot on the enemies, but no orders to shoot are coming through from Luke. Whitsun tells Anakin that they must wait for Luke's signal. However, the barrage of fire is too much and Anakin can't wait, and so he begins shooting back, exploding one of the destroyers. Through the comms, Luke tells Anakin to wait for his signal next time, and tells him that they do not have enough power to risk missing shots. Han Solo notices that there is a weakened shield on the dorsal turret, and so Luke warns Anakin, telling him to abandon his post and seal the section off. However, Anakin is cut off and taking heavy fire. Anakin's turret is opened to the vastness of space. Anakin launches out, struggling to breathe. Luke tells R2-D2 to go help Anakin. Han Solo reports that there are 6 or 7 Hunter destroyers approaching. Luke tells C-3PO to take the ship into the Norton asteroid belt, to which C-3PO says that they won't make it. Luke tells C-3PO to do it anyway, saying that they don't stand a chance in combat. The Hunter destroyers shoot at Anakin in order to try and kill him, one of them shooting the line, tying him to the ship. R2-D2 shoots a new line out for Anakin and drags him into the ship, sealing the hole up. The ship enters the asteroid belt. Nearly all of the shields are down, and it's very clear that they won't last long, and so Luke tells everyone to prepare to eject. Whitsun is carrying Anakin through the corridor when Leia approaches, asking if Anakin is hurt. R2-D2 tells Leia that Anakin almost suffocated, and that since he saved him, Anakin hasn't stopped repeating Leia's name. An asteroid crashes into the ship. C-3PO says that they must eject. Han Solo tells Luke that the ship is approaching one of the forbidden systems. Hearing this, Luke decides that they should set the ship in orbit around Yavin and then eject. Whitsun places Anakin in a life pod and asks R2-D2 to look after him. Then, Whitsun gets into a life pod with Leia, who asks if Anakin will be alright. Whitsun tells her that he thinks Anakin will be alright, and that Anakin's feelings for her are dangerous, and that she should discourage him. Luke gives the signal for everyone to eject from the ship. However, only 3 pods out of 4 eject. Inside Leia and Whitsun's pod, Whitsun notices that their power is out. He steps outside to check on what's wrong, only to find that the main line is cut. He closes up the pod and detaches the pod manually himself, ejecting Leia, leaving himself to be torn apart with the ship. The 4 pods land in different locations. Luke, Han Solo and C-3PO have landed safely with the 2 boys. Anakin lays just outside his life pod, unconscious, with a great spider on top of his chest. He awakens just in time to shove the spider away. He rescues R2-D2 and then asks where Leia's pod went. R2-D2 tells Anakin that her pod landed about 800 meters from their location. Luke awakens the 2 boys from their pods. At Leia's pod, Anakin has arrived and notices marks in the mud. He notices that someone must have taken Leia and that she had put up a fight. The tracks form an obvious trail, which he decides to follow. Luke and his group see some structures in the distance and decide to take a look. Elsewhere, Anakin tells R2-D2 to wait as he goes ahead, telling him to find Luke if he doesn't return. Anakin then sees a group of individuals who looked well equipped for combat, and in their possession is an unconscious Leia. Anakin ignites his laser sword and jumps to attack. He fights them for a little bit, only to be shot by a rocket. The explosion releases the prisoners the people had tied up, and the prisoners come to Anakin's rescue, carrying his unconscious body away. Luke and his team have arrived at the structures and meet Owen Lars of Bastille. Lars tells Luke and his group about how the Wookiees are the fiercest animals he's ever seen, and that there's been trouble ever since they moved in nearby. Luke asks where the nearest city is, to which Lars tells him that there is none, just scattered settlements and an Imperial outpost. Luke asks where the outpost is and what class it is. Lars tells him that it's 5 leagues away and that it's a very small Class 2 outpost. Anakin is surrounded by Wookiees, wielding shields and spears. He explains that he was only going for a look around. One of the Wookiees starts a fight with Anakin. Anakin and the Wookiee battle for some time, Anakin eventually beating them by impaling them. The Wookiees celebrate, and their leader presents Anakin with a gift. Luke and Han Solo prepare to go off in search of Leia and Anakin, leaving C-3PO and Owen Lars to look after the boys. In the Wookiee camp, Anakin and R2-D2 prepare to sneak out. They are halted by a Wookiee. Anakin tells the Wookiee to stand aside and that they must go, saying that he is grateful to the Wookiees. Anakin and R2-D2 head to find Leia, and the Wookiee follows behind them. Luke and Han Solo come across some dead bodies. They notice Anakin, who has arrived at the scene. Anakin tells Luke that trappers took Leia. Han Solo takes notice of the Wookiee. Han Solo understands the Wookiee, finding out that the Wookiee is Chewbacca, son of Orzituk, Prince of the Sawas, a powerful Wookiee tribe. He finds out that the Wookiees have made Anakin a god. Later, the group are looking over the Imperial outpost, studying it. They note that the place is well fortified and will be hard to get into. Chewbacca says that the Wookiees have mounted several assaults on the outpost, but even the Wookiees are no match for the Imperials. Luke calls for a comm system to Biggs to check in on him and his brother. Biggs talks about how he caught a thumper and named it Amber. He tells Luke that Windy is out catching abbas with Owen and Beru. Luke then finishes his contact with Biggs. Suddenly, shock troopers break down the door, telling Biggs to put his hands up. Amber lunges to attack the shock troopers and is sliced in half. The shock troopers capture Biggs and send seekers to find Windy. Luke is devising a plan with the Wookiees on how they are going to attack the Imperial outpost. Later, Han Solo and the Wookiees charge on the Imperial base. Luke and Anakin stand in the trees above. They set off traps which destroy Imperial transports. The Wookiees, Han Solo, and the Jedi continue their attack. Eventually, they make it into the outpost, where carnage ensues. They fight and win control of the base. Anakin asks Han Solo if the Wookiees found Leia, to which he is told that Leia was taken aboard a ship back to Aquilay around 10 hours ago. Later, Anakin and Luke are looking at a holoprojection of the space fortress. Anakin says that he is going to leave to save Leia. Luke says that he won't stop Anakin, but that the move is reckless and that Anakin should be patient. Luke tells Anakin that they have enough ships to attack in force. Anakin responds saying that they have no pilots and that the Wookiees will not be able to learn how to fly. Luke tells Anakin that the Wookiees will fly. After there being no contact with the boys, Chewbacca sends his 2 best warriors to go find them. Anakin climbs into his ship. Luke comments that his Skyraider disguise will help him in rescuing Leia. Anakin says that he and R2-D2 will get Leia back, even if it means sacrificing their lives like Whitsun did. In the space fortress, Leia is held in constraints as Darth Vader introduces himself. Vader asks one of his officers when the doctors from Alderaan will arrive, to which he is told at 65 hours. Vader orders that security be on alert until the doctors arrive. Vader tells Leia that the doctors will break her and will crush her spirit. He then electrocutes her. On Yavin, an Imperial transport arrives at the Imperial outpost. The people inside, noticing that the place looks to be deserted. Suddenly, they are attacked by Wookiees, which save the boys inside. C-3PO tells the boys that the Wookiees have told him that they are learning how to fly like birds from Luke, and that Anakin has gone to the space fortress to save Leia. A ship is rushing through the air, clipping the tops of trees. Inside, Chewbacca is flying the ship. Luke and Han Solo with him, helping him learn. However, Chewbacca is still new to flying, and so is not very good at it. Anakin arrives at the space fortress. Anakin lands inside the fortress, meeting an officer. He tells the officer that he is there to check on the vent ports in the rim tracks. The officer says that they have lost all contact with their station on Yavin, the station Anakin seems to be from. Anakin tells them that there is a fierce invasion just east of the station and that it's a mess on Yavin. The officer is happy with this answer. R2-D2 plugs into the space fortress, Anakin having him find the highest security area. R2-D2 finds that to be Station 325, a detention area. Anakin and R2-D2 go aboard a pneumatic vehicle route to head on their way to the detention area. Arriving at the detention area, Anakin tells the officer that he is a Skyraider escort for a prisoner sentenced to the 4th moon of Theta Vil. The officer says that because the area is a restricted zone, R2-D2 won't be able to enter, and that Anakin will be escorted. The shock trooper is escorting Anakin when Anakin slips away. The shock trooper takes a little while to notice that Anakin is missing, but when he does, he calls for a Code 6 alert. On Yavin, Luke and the Wookiees prepare to fight the Empire. Owen Lars tells Luke that the underground on Aquilay have made contact and are awaiting Luke's orders. Han Solo tells Luke that the Wookiees are ready to fly. The Wookiees all rush towards their ships, ready for battle. In the detention area on the space fortress, shock troopers patrol the area. but can't find Anakin. 2 shock troopers head their own way. One of the shock troopers is dragged into a panel in the wall. The other shock trooper notices and heads over to check out what happened, being knocked out on arrival. Anakin puts on one of the shock trooper uniforms, and then tries to put on both of the helmets, neither of them fitting. Vader tells the shock troopers to clear the area and to bring the Seekers if needed. Prince Valorum enters the room, telling Vader that they have lost contact with the doctors from Alderaan, and that it could be due to the rebels. Valorum says that he can see that Vader has Anakin on the run. Vader responds that they have just trapped Anakin and that they'll accomplish what Valorum, the great Sith, couldn't. Anakin is running from some shock troopers, coming to a dead end. Focusing, he ignites his laser sword, cutting the shock troopers to pieces. The fighting causes his armor to break apart. A door closes, sealing Anakin in. Jay gas comes flooding into the room, knocking Anakin out. Watching Anakin fall victim to the gas, Vader comments that he doesn't even know why the Emperor requested Valorum's help. Vader tells Valorum to take Anakin to the special interrogation section and to use his Sith skills to interrogate Anakin. Luke and the Wookiees are flying in formation towards Aquilay. Luke tells the rebels to send the coded signal. Anakin wakes up in the special interrogation room, restrained. Valorum stands over him, calling him a fool for trying to save Leia. He tells Anakin that their ways are useless on this space fortress. Vader and Governor Hodak arrive to tell Anakin what will come of him. Hodak comments that Anakin's easy capture and public imprisonment should end the Jedi myth. Vader adds that the Sith may be next. Hodak orders that Anakin be taken to Alderaan, where he will be executed before the Emperor. Luke and the Wookiees arrive at Aquilay and are heading towards the space fortress. Vader hears about the ships approaching. He orders full alert and for everyone to go to their battle stations. Valorum arrives at the hangar in which Anakin is waiting for his transport to Alderaan to arrive. Valorum raises his laser sword, swinging it at Anakin, bringing it down on Anakin's handcuffs. He tosses Anakin a laser sword and tells him to fight. Valorum attacks the shock troopers, telling Anakin that he should learn from his technique. Anakin joins the fight, asking what Valorum would teach him other than cruelty, mentioning that his brother was killed by a Sith. Anakin and Valorum fight their way through the shock troopers. As they run through the space fortress, Valorum tells Anakin that they must get a starship and escape before being discovered, but Anakin refuses to leave without Leia. Valorum tells Anakin that saving Leia is impossible, to which Anakin responds that it is love. Valorum says that he now remembers why the Jedi and Sith don't get along. Luke and the Wookiees fly across the space fortress, attacking it and dodging fire. Inside the fortress, some shock troopers find Anakin. Anakin and Valorum cut down the shock troopers. Anakin walks up to Leia's cell, asking Valorum to cover him. He opens the cell, helping Leia out. He tells her that they have a new ally, to which she is shocked to find that it is Prince Valorum. Valorum tells them that they have only seconds until they are found and the hallways are sealed closed. The 3 of them jump into a garbage chute. A few moments later, they crash into a pile of garbage. Valorum finds that the doors are sealed, and so the 3 of them need to find a way out. In space, Luke and the Wookiees have destroyed the terminals and now look into aiming for the relay center. If they destroy the relay center, it will start a chain reaction which will destroy the space fortress. Inside the space fortress, Vader is told that they've lost contact with Aquilay. Vader orders that a sub-relay be used to put all surface units on alert, and that more fighters be sent out. An explosion rocks the room Hodak and Vader are in. Vader angrily says that he has an idea that will solve at least one problem. In the garbage disposal, Anakin, Leia, and Valorum hear Vader call through the comms. I have no more time for your pathetic heroics. A futile attack by your foolish friends has forced me to take severe action. The hour of your execution has been expedited. The walls begin closing in on the three of them. In space, Luke and the Wookiees are suffering many casualties. One of the Wookiees sees a red section of the space fortress and sends their ship plummeting into it. In the garbage disposal, the walls suddenly stop moving. Anakin says that the Wookiees must have knocked out the power. Valorum is shocked to hear about the Wookiees. Valorum kicks open the door out of the garbage disposal, and the three of them leave. R2-D2 then calls across to the three of them. He tells them that the power core has exceeded the normal stress quotient, and that there is immediate danger. Valorum begins leading them to a life pod, saying to hurry. Meanwhile, Vader and Hodak fight. Hodak says that they must continue fighting. Vader says that they've already lost the planet and that they must abandon the ship before things get worse. An explosion tears the pair of them apart. In space, Luke tells Han to order all of the Wookiees to get away from the space fortress, saying that it's going to blow soon. Han Solo asks what about Anakin and Leia, to which Luke says not to worry about them, since Anakin is a Jedi now. Anakin, Leia, and Valorum rush into a life pod, the space fortress crumbling around them. They accelerate away from the space fortress, and Anakin and Leia kiss while the fortress explodes. Later, in the sacred throne room on Aquilay, Leia awards Chewbacca a medal for his bravery. All of the other rebels are wearing medals. Leia hires C-3PO and R2-D2, and appoints Anakin as the new Lord Protector of Aquilay. The people cheer. As word of the destruction of the space fortress spread, 1,000 new systems joined Queen Leia and the rebellion, causing a significant crack in the Great Wall of the Galactic Empire. The acts of Skywalker and Starkiller once again sparked fear in the hearts of the greedy and malevolent, and a new sense of liberty, not felt for 100 years, swept through the hearts of all. But our heroes' greatest adventure was yet to take place, the one which would be known as Saga of the Apuchi. That's it for this comic story. I hope you enjoyed the video, and bye.